Welcome to the Pockets of Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Desiree Stanley, here to share some amazing conversations. We're talking business, health, making and saving money, or starting something epic. Think of this as your go-to spot for stories that do a lot more than just kill time. They spark ideas, give you a boost, and perhaps even change the way you look at the world. I'm pulling in the experts, the thinkers, the doers, and the dreamers. We're about to dive into stories that open doors and ideas that light up your brain. Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the Pockets of Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Desiree Stanley, and with me today is my guest, Amy Lenius. How are you today, Amy?
So good. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to the show, and I am excited for our conversation today. Amy, you are so accomplished. Okay, you're the director of group coaching at Next Level University. You are a professional speaker, an event coordinator, MC, certified holistic self-improvement coach, and I absolutely want to dig into all this. So why don't you tell us, Amy, how did this journey and path come to be for you? How did all of this develop?
Yeah, that's a mouthful, isn't it? It is. So originally actually I'm from BC, Canada, and I was just telling you behind the scenes that we have moved east to Ontario. But originally I was actually trained in anatomy and physiology. I have a background as an RMT, and it started honestly there combined with my own health and wellness journey. I used to be very sick. I had a hormonal condition called endometriosis. And between those two things, I fell in love with learning about the body, learning how to heal, learning about women's health, and all of these incredible things. And I went through my own journey of health and wellness and becoming pain free and all of the nuances, the ups and downs that came with that, and ended up stepping away from massage therapy and speaking into people's lives about natural health and wellness. And then it moved into specifically hormone health for women. And then I started calling it holistic health for women because our health is so much more. It's so much more than just the physical, it's mental, emotional. It is heavily based in your external environment as much as your internal environment. And so I fell in love with that word holistic, how everything really affects everything else. And that expanded into me speaking more, public speaking. And, then COVID hit and you were doing less of in person events and things shifted online a little bit. I had my own podcast for a little while so I could still speak into people's lives. And that's where I connected with Kevin and Alan at Next Level University. They produce podcasts and were coaching me in business and things. And then they asked me to come be their MC and help them do live events because they had seen one of my speeches. And I fell in love with their company, with their mission, their dedication to small, holistic self improvements every day in the most sustainable ways, quality of life, health, wealth, and love. And so I just dove deep into that company. I'm the director of group coaching. We run group coaching every quarter. We do all sorts of incredible things. They themselves have a daily podcast. And so it just expanded in there. And the reason I felt so drawn to this space was because I would be on stage and I would be telling women about their bodies, about their hormones, about things they can do at home. And you can see their face light up. They seem so excited. They love what I have to say. I sound really smart with all of my big anatomy and physiology terms and things, but there was a piece missing. They wouldn't go home and apply these things. And so I kept digging more into stress reduction, mental health for them, and how to speak into people's lives. And that's where I also noticed the partnership with NLU helped me expand how to speak into that part of people, how it's really underlying pillars of self belief and self worth, and how those two pillars really either set you up for success or struggle in any journey you are trying to step into. And so this whole journey has expanded me into now holistic self improvement so that I can help people with any kind of expansion they're looking for.
Oh, that's fantastic, Amy. Thank you for sharing that journey with us. And congratulations on finding a way to heal yourself from the endometriosis. I have friends who have debilitating pain from that. Congratulations for that. And being able to share that with other people so that they can heal themselves as well. And so that's fantastic. I love what you're doing. It's a couple things you said in there I think is so great. Talking about how this is holistic, right? HOL but it's also WHOL, right? So you got to look at the whole part of the person. And that's so fantastic because we are more than just one aspect of ourselves, right? There's so many parts, external, internal, there's spiritual, there's emotional, there's all these things, our anatomy, everything that plays into the entirety of us. I love that concept that you're really talking about all the parts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's that. It's so communal, our external community, our internal community, it's all working together or not.
Mm,
And that's where we get sick and when things start to feel uneasy and like we're overwhelmed and falling apart. And so when we can really start taking control and having some empowered awarenesses, experiences, and practices in place in both, we're really setting ourselves up for success.
yeah. Good stuff. I love it. And so I assume that the dedication that you have to this holistic line of working with people is because of what you experienced yourself. Yes?
Yeah, definitely. I jumped around from doctor to doctor and practitioner and things who really just tried to keep putting me in these boxes and only wanted to talk to me about one part of my body and never really expanded on my whole being until I stepped into more natural spaces. I had a naturopath talk to me about, okay, well, what's your stress like? What's your gut health like? Let's look at your liver function. All of these things matter, right? And I loved that so much. I felt seen for the first time on my healing journey. And after so many surgeries and all of the things that I went through, it was just such a powerful experience. And so I just kept chasing that next little win, that next little bit of information, that little bit of decrease in inflammation, a little bit of less pain. And I just kept stepping into what is the next little thing I can build upon here, and that's what really helped me.
Yeah. So do you want to maybe talk about how those little pieces that you were discovering, like I'm assuming there was hormones also involved in that. So do you want to share some things with the listeners on what you discovered that made a difference for you and how, I mean, especially with women and our hormones as we begin to age is playing out in our bodies that is affecting us.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame too as we start to age. Hey, we're stepping into perimenopause and menopause, and we're going through that second puberty basically, and things are all over the place again. How fun for us.
Yeah.
And so it is the more you understand and know about your body. I mean, even as a woman on a mission for, let's say, entrepreneurial success, and really understanding that you are a cyclical being and how understanding that cyclical part of you can actually help you in your career. It can help you as a parent, it can help you as a spouse because we're taught constantly that we're just small men. Like you can do this workout but do it a little less because you're a small man. Do this type of eating because it's just less because you're a small man. Every study done until like the last, I don't know, even up to the last 10 years have just been an assumption that, oh, yeah, there's smaller men, so we'll just lessen it. But in reality, we are like the moon. We are different every day. Men are like the sun. They cycle on a 24-hour clock. That is their hormonal cycle. Whereas we are different slightly mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything every day. Slightly different. Our brains are different every day. Our hormones, our emotions, everything, the things we can tap into easier are different every day. So even just understanding that and knowing when to lean into your high energy season, knowing when to give yourself grace without shame and guilt. Like today is a perfect example. I am not going to be as articulate today as I would have been a week and a half ago. I'm in a lower energy state. And so if I didn't understand that's just where my body and brain and things are at today, I would have maybe shamed myself and been like, why was I so on fire last week? I was so consistent. My workouts were great. I was articulate. And now I feel like a potato and I can't even, but I'm still trying to do the things, right? And we still want to do the things. And sometimes our schedules don't allow us to take these full breaks. But knowing that this is where I'm at today and understanding that allows me to just give myself so much permission and grace to lean into things with understanding that my 100% isn't 100% every day. Sometimes you have 30% to give. And if you can give 100% of that 30%, I mean, you're doing great. So even just a huge macro look at it that way is such a win to understand your body.
Oh my gosh, there was so much goodness in there, so much. I absolutely agree. And I think remembering that each day we are going to be different gives us that opportunity to be kinder to ourselves and not try to assume that we can be 1,000% every day. It's like we just don't have that energy every single day. And the point that you made about if you've got 30%, but you give 100% of that 30%, you did it. And be like clapping for yourself, patting yourself on the back, like you gave your all that day. And so that is fantastic. I love that point so much. I think that the point you made about the studies that really haven't been done on women, anything about us really, until probably I would say you're really starting to see things this last maybe 4 or 5 years
Yes.
about more women's studies and how our bodies are different and our everything about us is different, as you just shared. And so I really think we're starting to see a little bit more of that happening. And finally, right?
So good, right? It's amazing. It is very
Yeah.
exciting.
It is because what does it mean for the future for women in the future if we can continue this? It's just good stuff. So I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about because you were describing in there also if you're a businesswoman, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are just a working woman in general, and you want to grow or move up or continue to succeed at a new level, how is understanding all of this going to make a difference in that growth?
Mhm. So I love this so much. So when, like I said, when we get into that shame spiral of, oh, why was I so on fire last week and this week? Like I suck. Oh, it's terrible. I'm terrible. It's the worst, right? We get into these little pity parties, which I'm all about. Have your pity party. Don't live there. Learn to get out as quickly as possible, but feel the feels, right? It's important. But it's so valuable to know that these seasons are there to actually serve you. It really is. And so, what happens when you step into shame, you're actually crushing self belief and self worth. So, if you go through that cycle regularly, you're crushing these superpower beliefs in the back of your mind of belief and self worth. And so, self belief is what we believe we can accomplish in the external world. And self worth is what we believe about ourselves internally, what we believe we're worthy of. And no one out loud logically says, oh, I'm not worthy of success. We don't think that logically. This is all stuff that's back here. But self belief and self worth are absolute pillars. And when you said, yeah, celebrate yourself because you gave the 30% that you had that day, if that's your attitude, you're actually putting deposits into that self belief and self worth versus taking away from them each time. So when you can give yourself grace, understanding, acceptance, the ability to pivot, sometimes we just need to step into some grit. Honestly, we do. And that also builds self belief. But it's these two pillars. They do. Every time I'm working with someone on any type of journey they're on, whether it be a fitness journey, a health journey, a entrepreneurial journey, or even just looking for more passion, peace, and fulfillment in their life, you can break it down into what is your level of self-belief and self-worth, because one of these things is holding you back. And so learning what those are, learning what builds them, and then making sure you're stepping into just little sustainable practices in both of those every day. It's like turning on a superpower within you.
Yeah, I love that. The grit, sometimes we do have to muscle through some of it, and that's okay for that day. And then there's days when we just need to say, you know what? I'm just going to have to dial this back today. And recognizing that and understanding that and being like accepting of that. I think that's a great point. And the little steps at a time. I love this. Atomic Habits, James Clear is one of my favorite books. He talks about just like that in incremental step growth, right? Every day you're doing just a little bit more and suddenly you look back and you've come a mile. And I love that. So it's just another reminder that you're sharing with us. That's how you have these big wins is those little steps that you take every day.
It is. It is. It's like that saying, you can eat an apple a day or 7 apples on Sunday. Which one's going to be best? You can go to the gym or do your home workout for 20 to 30 minutes a day, or you can go to the gym 7 days on Sunday. One is going to really suck, actually. The
Yeah.
other one's is a little more sustainable. But sustainability is the key to success. Sustainability is one of, I would say, 5 points of consistency, but it's one of the most important ones. I love Atomic Habits, great book. Compound effect also. excellent book for just teaching you that these small stacks, these small wins are what build up over time for whatever it is that you're building into.
Yeah. And no, I really wouldn't want to eat 7 apples in one day or do 7 days worth of workouts on one day.
Oh,
That is absolutely not sustainable. And really, we have to look at what can we do every single day that's going to move us forward, get that needle going, whatever terminology you want to use, what's going to get us to the next level. And I think it really is more about the little steps that gradually get you there is going to be sustainable.
it is.
And yeah, okay, so let's dig into that because you really do. You shared one of five. And so is there the other four that you want to share with us that are really important in this?
I would love to. So I love that you said the next level because that's our company,
Yeah.
Next Level University. And so we love coming up with simplistic frameworks. And I would say the majority of them are triangles or triads of some sort or pyramids, but we do have some stars and there is a consistency star. So if you picture a star, that first bottom corner is self belief. It takes self belief to be able to step into any kind of external success that you're looking for. And success is individual to you, right? It might be success in motherhood, fitness, anything, right? And so self belief is really important. Where are we building self belief? And we can break down self belief after as well. So self belief is really important. And then next is humility. Humility is so important. Humility is an accurate assessment of where you're at. So lots of us have a very deflated sense of ourselves, and a lot of us have an inflated sense of ourselves. Both are not setting you up for success. You're either going to go out in the world inflated of your abilities, you're going to overshoot, you're going to burn out, it's going to be terrible, and or you're underswinging, you're a little self-deprecating. Humility is kind of in the middle. You're either self-deprecating on one end if that's 0, and then 10 is you're overswinging, you almost have a bit of arrogance to you. Again, no right or wrong, it's just knowing where you're at. Either you're underswinging or overswinging, and humility's in the middle. It's just this accurate sense of where you're at. If you have not worked out consistently for your life ever, but then you say, "I'm going to do an hour every day at the gym, this," like the New Year's resolution, right? If you do it for 3 days in a row, you're going to burn out so quickly, your body's gonna hate you, and then you're gonna convince yourself that it's not for you. So where can you have some humility to say, "I've never been able to be consistent. How can I start with 10 minutes a day?" Which takes us to the next one, which is sustainability. You have to have humility to create a sustainable practice. So sustainability would be not taking that hour a day in fitness that you've never done before. Maybe start with 10. How long can you keep 10 minutes a day going? 20 minutes if you have it. That is sustainability, something you can do every day without overstretching. And then it is adaptability, the ability to adapt. Sometimes days are reactive and it sucks, or you're not feeling good, or you're on your cycle, or something is coming up. I'm a homeschool mom of 2 boys. Stuff's reactive some days. So to be consistent, I have to be able to adapt and pivot. Some days I have to have grace for myself. But because I've had humility and because I've done something and said that I'm going to do something that is really sustainable, I can adapt it into my day if I can't get it done in the morning like I normally do. So adaptability. And then the fifth one is just grit. Like I said, some days you just gotta go do the thing. And what's awesome about that is it takes you back to the beginning. The days that you do the thing that you said you were going to do, especially when you didn't want to do it, it builds more self belief. And then the star starts again.
That's great. I love that image too. This idea of those points on a star that carry you around and back to the beginning again.
Mhm.
Great way to think about it. And I love the point about humility. We need to be honest with ourselves, right? And that's recognizing where we are today or in this moment or in this year or whatever the case is. And then going from there, using that as your launching point and just being honest with yourself and what you're capable of doing. I think that's a great point. All of us need to take time to do that, which brings up another point. If you're homeschooling and you're running your own business and you're doing all these things, maybe you don't have time
Mhm.
to sit and really reflect on these things. But how can you carve out a little time to do that? Because it's going to set you up for success when you're looking at these points and recognizing where you're at in your life, how you're feeling in what you're working on, or whatever the case may be. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about self-care. And
Mm.
of course, we've talked about how important it is to give ourselves grace and give ourselves some space if we're not 100% for the day, whatever. How is self-care going to make a difference for us?
Yeah, it's so many of us, especially you were talking about how most of your audience is women, and a lot of us are just servants at heart. We love to be everything for everyone, and we're so good at keeping everything afloat despite what we are going through, despite how we are feeling. But that only lasts for so long, or you haven't witnessed the potential that you actually do have to do things not from a state of emptiness and overwhelm and burnout, but a state of actually fulfillment and abundance. I mean, we can do both. I've seen women do incredible things in burnout, never taking care of themselves, in scarcity and all of these things. We still do incredible things. But what happens when we can give ourselves this cup filling state of fulfillment, state of abundance through self-care, through paying attention to our own needs and things, we can all of a sudden give from a state of abundance. We can give from a place of fulfillment. We can give what is best of us instead of what is just left over all the time. It's such an empowered, different state to be in. And I know we feel like taking time for ourselves is so selfish sometimes. But at the end of the day, when you're a parent, a spouse, a household runner, a entrepreneur or an employee or something, anything that you're doing in service of others, you are taking away from them if you're taking away from yourself. And so, how can you bring in sustainability? Because as much as I would love to say go to the spa at least once a week, go away for a girls' weekend once a month, it's not sustainable. So, what can you do every day? What is something small you can do every day? Maybe it is your 20 minutes of yoga by yourself. Maybe that's even a lot right now. Maybe it's like I have a tea ritual that I do every day. It is the most simplistic thing. How often, I don't drink coffee, but how often do we make ourselves a coffee or a tea? And it just is. We have just done it because it is habitual and we needs it, obviously. But how can you turn that into a moment of self care? So which tea I do it with tea. Which tea does my body crave right now? I'll go and I'll smell my teas. I'll pick out which tea I feel like I need. I do a lot of work with herbs and things for my hormones and stuff because that's a constant for me. You can't actually fully get rid of endometriosis, but you can keep it at bay with all of these beautiful practices. And so I have a lot of herbs and things that I use. And today it was my white jasmine tea. I needed some caffeine today, right? I went to my cupboard of mugs. Which mug do I feel like today? I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm wearing a bit of a fall sweater. It's officially fall. I'm going to go for my pumpkin mug. Sometimes it's the rainbows and unicorns mug. Sometimes it's black. Just want the black mug, right? It's picking up on what I feel like I need. And then I go over, I make my tea, I let it steep, and I sit and I drink it while it's hot. Or bring it down for these like beautiful moments where I can sip on my tea and I'm in my passion and my purpose. Like my kids even know that when I sit down with a tea, they are more than welcome to sit down with me and visit with me and do things with me. But mommy's not going to get up until I at least have some of my hot tea because I'm not going to be the person that reheats it over and over again. That's just a different, it's intention. Yes, I made myself a tea. One, I could do it both ways. I could just do it, get it done, and it's not conscious, but with intention, that became a really beautiful moment of self-care. And so where can you put just intention even to the habits you're already doing? Where can you add a couple minutes of skincare for yourself at the end of the day? What is it, right? But daily, sustainably, adaptively.
Yeah, great stuff, Amy. I love that. Intentionality, taking a small, simple thing that's part of every day, drinking your coffee, drinking your tea, but with intention, it becomes more. And
Mhm.
I love that idea. For me, yes, it's the coffee. I love my coffee and that first sip of coffee. And I know so many people understand this. When you take that first sip of coffee, it's just like soul filling, right? You just like, ah, yes. And so when we're taking that time for ourselves, it is more than just the coffee. It is that self-care. And so it's beautiful. I love it. Or you're cleansing your face at the end of the day, taking
Yeah.
the time for yourself to do that. I mean, what a difference it can make. And some days we don't have that. Some days we can carve that out, and that's okay. We just have to be where we are, right? But I love that, again, it's sustainable. You just have to find little things that you can do every day that make a difference for how you feel. And
Mhm.
so many moms And business women, we just feel like if we're taking that time for ourselves, it's taking away from somebody else, like you shared.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
taking away from something. Oh, it's taking away from my business. It's taking away from my children. It's taking away from my husband. It's like, is it though? Or is it going to actually give more to those things? If you can get into the habit of thinking that way, it shifts everything.
Mhm. And so many of us have heard the expression, like you can't pour from an empty pitcher or vessel or whatever. So you've got to fill yourself. And we all know this, right? Like logically, we all understand we need to give to ourselves to give to others. But so often we don't take that time to do that. So I love that you're sharing all these things again as a reminder that we've got to take some time for ourselves so that we can continue to be of service to other people and really at a higher level. We can be of service at a higher level when we are taking time for ourselves too. So,
Yeah, and when we can pull away from the language that is balance. How many times do you
mm,
hear women, "Oh, if I could just get some work life balance, if I could just get some balance here." You can't. Balance is BS. It is such a BS concept that we can't chase. Balance means you can be 100% of something, multiple things at once. You can't. I am not in 100% my mom hat right now. I'm not. I'm here with this is where my focus is. I love, instead of balance, find a word like flow or harmony. How can you flow in and out of all the hats that you wear? How can you harmony and harmonize in between all of your most important hats that you wear? And allow each one to fuel each one. But remember again that you're still at the center of it. And so I love the vision of the spinning plates. Those people hold up sticks and they spin the plate and then this plate gets going. Well, okay, so right now I'm spinning my plate of service, of passion, of purpose, of my building my ability to speak into others and everything like that. Earlier, I had my mom hat on. I was over here. Now that had some momentum, so I was able to comfortably shift over here, knowing that I had given that some momentum earlier. And now I'm over here spinning this plate and I'm flowing in between. But the most important picture in that analogy is that you're at the center. And if you fall, all of the plates fall with you. Stop chasing balance. It's BS. Fill your cup, even if you know what your top 3 cup fillers are. We teach this in group coaching because it's such a valuable thing that people think is so simplistic, but yet when was the last time you checked in on your cup fillers? It's a part of the fulfillment module. Your cup fillers are things that can be small that supercharge you. What is something small that you can do that really fills your cup? So mine is a good cup of tea. Like that's a small supercharger for me. Another one is we put our couch into what we call cuddle mode. I love family snugs. Oh, I love it. And like just even just like a half hour show curled up, like that fills my cup. I feel so good after. And then I have bigger ones, me heading out to the lake, being in nature, going bass fishing. I love to fish. It's a random one, but like that's a supercharger for me. If I can go and do that once or a couple times a month, even during the summer when that season is on, huge. When I'm low energy, I know what music to do. Like I had a good playlist going before this to pick up my energy before I came on this podcast because I'm in my lower season today. And so just knowing those things about yourself, and honestly, sometimes like it's almost like embarrassing how much it fuels you. Let it be. Like, what are your cup fillers? How can you have them more often? How can you sprinkle them into your day and into your life more sustainably and more consistently?
yeah, great stuff. I love it. I love it. And it goes back to adaptability, right? It's like taking what's maybe coming at you and you sometimes you have to react and sometimes you can be more like proactive, but just trying to find that flow as you're moving through your day. And I agree with you. Balance is baloney. We, I think, have all proven that that's just a crock. It's not possible. We can't be in balance. And this is the idea of a teeter totter, right? I mean, it's like something is down, something else is up. There's no balance. A teeter totter is not meant to be set stable. It's meant to go up and down, right? So
No, that's
forget
really
it.
hard to do.
Totally hard. Yeah. So the idea of just flowing and trying to find that way around the different tasks and things that you have to accomplish during the day or whatever the case may be. So I love that idea of flow. It's great stuff. Let's talk now a little bit about you've shared about Next Level University and the idea of going to the next level. So, why don't you share a little bit about how your involvement with them has allowed you to begin speaking more, to share this information with others, like you are with us today on this show, and what that's meant to you in being able to serve others?
Oh my goodness. You're gonna get me in the feels actually because it's meant everything to me, actually. To be able to step into a space where you are so celebrated and encouraged for your ideas, encouraged for your input from two men, by the way.
Mm.
I work with their name's Kevin and Alan. They're the founders of Next Level University. Just a couple of great guys, healthy masculines. Like, it's unbelievable. We attract a lot of women into the space of Next Level University, and it was always so shocking to them. And it's like, it's just because you guys create a safe, healthy masculine space where you give us permission to thrive, to be messy, to be sustainable. It's all of that. But to be able to come into a space where they encourage me to grow and to have, like I said, my inputs, and we're behind the scenes. Alan and I came up with the consistency star. Like, even just things like that, to be able to come in, they've had this business. They're in their 7th year now. They have a daily podcast. They have a whole podcast production where they help people get started, produce their podcast, do all the things over there. And then we have the trainings, the group coaching, one-on-one coaching, all sorts of beautiful things. And to be able to come into a space that they had established and to give me the permission to become almost a third face of this company. We have a beautiful, incredible growth-oriented team behind the scenes that make everything run and work, and I came in with the permission to be in the front, which was scary for me as my core wound. We all have these core limiting beliefs and core wounds. Mine's unlovable, and so it is hard to step in a space and be seen as okay to shine and be more and do more because we like to dim unlovables. So that has just been so powerful, and I've learned so much. Alan himself is a literal genius. His brain works in just the most fascinating ways. He's an engineer at heart and has his engineer degree and all these things, but the frameworks he comes up with and the things that we've been able to build that help me articulate what I have wanted to say to people in simplistic ways has just been incredible. The consistency star, the self-belief thing has been like crazy powerful for me to take people through frameworks of self-belief and self-worth to help women with their health. Like, it doesn't seem like it goes together. It does. It deeply does. I can't tell you how many women do not have enough self-worth to take care of themselves. Probably doesn't hit you as a shock. You probably know that. Yeah, it's just given me the platform to do all of that. And I love public speaking. I love it. It's weird. It's like people's biggest fear. It's like the higher fear than death. Nope. Once you have something to say, I swear you want to go out and say it. But yeah, they've given me just so much space to do that.
That's wonderful. It's so fantastic to hear that you have a space that is safe, that they've created that. And you're right, it's not typical. So that's fantastic that they have created this space that is safe for women, for you to grow and develop and experience and learn and all of that. It's tremendous. That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that with us. You're right. Most people don't want to be up speaking in front of others. It is, I think, the number one fear of most people to be public speaking. But you're right. When you've got something to say and you feel like everybody's got to hear it, then that makes that fear go away, right? Because
Yeah.
now you're in service of other people.
The message becomes greater than the fear.
Right. Right. Good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. You know, I love that we've talked a little bit about books that are important to us and have been beneficial for us.
Mhm.
Are there others that you would like to share with the listeners that you think would be helpful or beneficial for them to take a look at? I'd love to have you share it.
I think it's what we've talked about. I think it's the compound effect. It
Okay.
is. I can't think of Darren Hardy. Compound effect, Darren Hardy. It allows you to understand why small, sustainable, buildable actions over time is what is going to lead you to success in any endeavor you are on. I teach it to my kids with their school. We teach, like, you can benefit from this principle of embracing small action that builds over time as a parent, as a spouse, as anything that you're diving into as far as what success means to you. If you're learning how to garden, start small. Right? Anything like that. And so I love the compound effect, and Atomic Habits is excellent. We've done both in book club. We have a free book club on Saturday, a growth oriented personal development book club, and we've done both, and they both have done really well in book club for people. And just the discussions that come with them are so powerful. So I do, if you're looking to become more motivated in being consistent with the things that you want to do, the things you say you're going to do, and start building self belief and self worth because you do them, those two books are really powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And what you just said about building self worth because you're accomplishing these things you said you were going to do. And it is possible because you're starting small. And because you're starting small, you can accomplish them. And then it's like this belief now, oh, okay, I did that thing. Now I can do this next thing. And then it grows and continues to build, and you continue to believe in yourself because you've done those smaller steps leading up to this next one. So I love that. I realized I wanted to touch on something that you said earlier, and that's women who are not taking care of themselves because they don't feel worthy
Mm.
to take care of themselves. And I was nodding and agreeing because I've seen this in my life with people in my life. And what do you want to share maybe on how they can begin to make a change to feel like they are worthy of caring for themselves and taking care of themselves?
I mean, see yourself as the pillar. For one, see yourself as the person spinning all your plates and give yourself the credit for doing so. How often are we not giving ourselves credit for even just the mental and emotional work it takes to be a very involved woman, a very ambitious woman, even if it is in parenting, having a beautiful marriage, anything like that, running a household, cooking beautiful food for your family, or you're on an entrepreneurial journey. Either way, both. I mean, success is success, right? And understand that you are the pillar in that. How can you have more empowering and abundant thoughts about that? And a lot of it is keeping the promises you're going to make to yourself. It's about setting and learning how to have healthy boundaries. It's learning to have courage, especially social courage, where learn to stand up for ourselves and say what we want to say without suppressing. It's about investing in yourself, small or big. Even listening to this podcast right now, if you're listening, that's you investing in yourself. It doesn't have to take hundreds, thousands of dollars to invest in yourself. If you have that, do it for sure. The more you can invest in yourself, in my opinion, the better. But if it's just a free podcast that you get to listen to every week, that's you investing in yourself, and give yourself the credit for doing that. And then just really be conscious of comparison. Comparison can be really powerful or it can be really detrimental. So going back to even just women comparing to women and women's health. So me coming up to pushing 40 should not be comparing my fitness journey, my hormone journey, and my life in general to a woman in her 20s, early 20s, who is not close to perimenopause and all of these things, doesn't have kids yet, and can work out at the gym for an hour every day or more. Those are not healthy comparisons. But if I can find someone, let's say online, we all love Instagram and all of these things, love hate. It's how can I find a woman who's also close to her 40s? Maybe she has kids at home too, and she is crushing it. She is able to hit her fitness goals. How is she doing that? How can I be inspired by her instead of comparing in this unhealthy way? Keeping the promises you make to yourself, learning to set healthy boundaries, courage, social courage, especially, invest in yourself, and healthy comparison all really, really give you just steps to become more conscious of the level of worth that you have.
Yeah, great stuff, Amy. Thank you so much for that. That was fantastic. I love that. Going into comparison mode is just can be very detrimental. If you're saying, like, I'm not as good as them, I'm not wherever they're at, but comparing and realizing that it's where you want to be, taking where you're at, realizing where you want to go, and the steps that you can get you there, I think is a healthy way to use that comparison, right? Mm,
Yeah, it
yeah,
takes humility,
yeah, yeah,
accurate self assessment, and the humility to be able to be inspired and learn from someone who's ahead of you.
yeah. Great stuff. Love it. Okay, so are there any podcasts that you'd like to suggest for the listeners to check out?
I'm super biased. I have to go with Next Level University. I mean, I'm on the team. I work with these guys closely, regularly, and I still listen to their podcast every day. They're all about that small 1% improvement or 0.001% improvement. It doesn't matter wherever you're at daily. And I love having them in my ear every day. They're dedicated to holistic self improvement, your quality of life, love, health, and wealth. And it's awesome.
All right, great. Well, I will include the information in the show notes for sure. Amy, is there anything that you'd like to share at this point that you maybe haven't said as of yet that you think that the listeners really need to know?
I think based on everything we've talked about, it's get to know yourself. Self-awareness is everything, especially as women. Understand your cycle. Understand that you have seasons and learn to lean into those seasons. And sometimes leaning into a season means relaxing a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, learning that your ups and downs are okay, giving yourself the grace and things that you need to. But the more you understand yourself as a physical, mental, and emotional being, the more empowered you're going to be to go out and do the things that you want to do in life. And so self awareness is everything. And if you're struggling with motivation and consistency, just going back to those points that we talked about and which one are you already excellent at? Lots of us are excellent at one thing, typically, even in the self worth things I just talked about. One you're really good at. Maybe you have a lot of grit. Maybe that's it. But so now you need more humility. Maybe you have a lot of humility, so maybe you need more grit. Like, which one are you excellent at and which one can you focus on? We can't focus on all things at once. So, even of the 5 things I gave you for self worth, which one are you already really good at? So, you don't need to focus on that. And then, which one do you really need to double down on? Maybe it's the promises to yourself. Maybe it's learning healthy boundaries. Which one can you step into first and then build and expand from there?
Oh my gosh, Amy, good stuff. Thank you so much. Lastly, before we close out, how can the listeners find you, follow along your journey, learn more about Next Level? And if you want to share websites, social links, please do that with us now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just Amy Lenius on Instagram and Facebook. I'm so happy to have conversations with people. Just let me know you found me on the podcast because sometimes I've been adding friends lately. And it's like, oh, did you find me on a podcast? They're like, no, here's something inappropriate. And you're like, oh, no. So let me know that you heard me on a podcast. That would be so helpful for me. And I run the Facebook group for Next Level University as well. So I am in there every day posting something that is going to help you become more self aware. Sometimes it's a really deep question, and sometimes it's, hey, what do you like better with chocolate, caramel, or peanut butter? We got a lot on that one the other day. But it's going to be self awareness questions every day. And that is a free Facebook community that is just daily self awareness. And yeah, we love growth oriented people in that space. It's called Next Level Nation. And I do have the link that you can have.
Yeah, for sure. I will include all of the links to find you and the Facebook group. And just to comment on the chocolate, I love caramel and I love peanut butter. So either day, any day, I'll have all three of them or one or the other. I couldn't choose. There's no way I could choose because they're
I
just delicious.
I did post a picture in the comments. I said, for those of you who can't choose, I did find the solution. They make Reese's cups now, the peanut butter cups with caramel. There is a solution.
I know. I saw that. I love it. Delicious. Yes, it is a bit of a vice for me, but it's one of those special things that I take intentionally, right? That moment to savor it
Mhm.
and really enjoy it. So, yeah, for sure. Love it. Amy, this has just been a blast. I have so enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing all this wonderful knowledge and information with us. It's just been an honor to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for a beautiful conversation and for allowing me to come and speak into your space. I mean, you're at over 100 episodes. That's incredible. Congratulations. Keep going. I can tell what you're doing is really wonderful.
Thank you so much. We'll talk more soon.
Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to another insightful episode of the Pockets of Knowledge podcast. We appreciate your time and curiosity as we explore fascinating topics together. If you enjoyed today's discussion, be sure to join us next week for another amazing episode. Remember, your journey of learning and growth is a continuous adventure, and we're thrilled to be part of it. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next week, stay curious and keep exploring those pockets of knowledge.